Hello and welcome to Vibrant Living Diaries, the podcast where we unlock the secrets of how you can renew your inner vitality and relearn what it means to live a life with energy and purpose. I'm your host, Danielle Grodman, and I'm proudly here with the International Wellness Alliance. This alliance is home to experts across the world whose specialties allow us to cover the entire spectrum of health and wellness, and bring that knowledge to you right here on this platform. Just as a disclaimer, the stances our guests take on this podcast and the topics we cover are not representative of our individual perspectives. If you're planning on making any lifestyle and/or health changes based on what we cover here, please consult your main medical wellness practitioner to find the best next steps for you to take on your wellness journey. Let's begin. Today we have the privilege of hosting two distinguished guests whose contributions have been transforming the landscape of international business strategy, asset management, functional nutrition, education, and beyond. First, introducing Tim Taylor, a titan in the realm of international business with nearly 4 decades of experience. Tim's dynamic approach to speaking, strategic planning, and business structuring has played a pivotal role in the ascension of numerous large and medium-scale enterprises. Joining Tim is equally esteemed Sandra, the Chief Operating Board member of Six Sigma Management Institute, The Great Discovery, and Six Sigma Wings for Heroes. Sandra is at the vanguard of leveraging the innovative benchmarking techniques developed by Dr. Michael Harry through Six Sigma's pioneering e-learning programs. Together, Tim and Sandra's shared commitment to excellence and empowerment through education is the focus of today's episode. So without further introduction needed, Sandra, Tim, thank you very much for joining today.
It's awesome to be here. Thank you.
I was very interested to hear about your book. If you could speak on it, I would love to get a little bit more information, particularly about how it helps kids and your mission.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Danny. I would love to do that. I'm going to step back a little bit and give a little bit of history of what the relevance to the books is my late husband was Dr. Michael J. Harry, and he was the co-creator of a business management system called Six Sigma. We use statistics and math and basically reduce costs and save money for corporations all over the world. So it was a very big deal, still is today. But before my late husband passed, he wanted to take that goodness of Six Sigma without all the math and statistics down to the individual person. So he created what we call the Great Discovery, which is the fourth generation of Six Sigma. So out of the business into now a personal life, and somebody can exponentially increase their odds of success in everything they do using the Great Discovery. So it was very successful using it with adults. And so we thought, wow, could we take this down to teenagers? And we did. And we were very successful with the teenagers, and they loved it and they excelled. We helped them get in touch with their intrinsic core values so they can align those values with maybe what their career path might be or their mission, to start them out in life. So it was very successful. And then we thought, wow, could we take this down to the little kids? And so we did. We wrote the Bentley series, and there's going to be 6 books in the series. And what it does is it's for kindergarten through 3rd grade. So we brought it down so that they are understanding what we call the Six Sigma way of thinking, that cognitive roadmap that made Six Sigma so successful. So the Bentley series was written, and the main character is Bentley, and he is my little dog. And then all of the characters in the book are also someone's animals. So we only have one fictitious made-up animal so far, and he was kind of the bully, and we didn't want anybody's animal to be the bully. So we made Angus a fictitious character. The books walk the children through what we call in the Great Discovery the proven path. And the proven path really starts with identifying that mission. So the first book is Bentley's dream, where he dreams about what he would like to get and then how he's going to do that. The second book is Bentley's treasure, where we teach the children about what they treasure, and that equates to values in our adult life. So values are instilled in us. Each one of us have our intrinsic core values that we're born with. They develop about 8 or 9 years old. So we're starting to gear the children to get in touch with those. And so it's really great. The third book is Bentley's Purpose, where he goes out and realizes that he's got a purpose and he wants to walk down the proven path and achieve that purpose, and he's going to become a service animal. So he goes down that path. And then the fourth book is Bentley's Journey, where he starts down the journey to become a service animal. Book 5 is his Power, which we relate to restraining and driving forces in the Great Discovery, teaching them about how to excel in things that they know how to do and how to overcome the things that they're maybe not so good at, some of the restrainers. And then book 6 is Bentley's success. And this is where he achieves being a service animal, and then he goes out and starts to help others. So the whole series is to bring the children through that proven path and start to teach them the Six Sigma way of thinking. But in addition to that, what we did is we created a workbook. And the workbook, what we've done, we're doing a pilot with a school up in Indiana, a public school, to get data and information and see how the kids react to the books. And it's gone very, very well, absolutely wonderful. But we tied the workbooks, which were color books plus exercises, to the state requirements for SEL learning. And so we are trying to really prepare the book series and the workbooks for the homeschooling market, private schools, charter schools. Unfortunately, the public schools are very hard to get into. It will take time, but we have hopes to do that at some later date. But it will take some time. But really gearing up for our homeschooling market, which is a huge market. Being able to help parents teach their children maybe another way of thinking that may help them in their future. So that's kind of in a nutshell about the books and the workbooks. But it's been gratifying. Myself and Dr. Kathy Lawson, my other business partner, are the co-authors, and Alan LeDuc is our editing manager of them. So it's been a really fun project. And the next project that we want to take on is we've got to fill the gap from 9 to 12. And so we're looking at creating a comic book series for them to teach them the great discovery, the Six Sigma way of thinking. So that's our next project, and hopefully we'll be starting on that soon.
That's really interesting. The last time that we were talking, it was just Tim and I, but we were talking about how it almost seems like kids are taught that there's already a predetermined path for them. They should do this. They should do that. If they don't do this, then they're going to not be as successful as the person who did. And there's these so many, I guess you can call it subconscious or literally consciously being taught to them programming methods that are going on in schools that are glorifying, let's say, a corporate job or a typical 9-to-5 job. And for some people, that's great. For some people, that completely works for them. But then for other people, they maybe have this creative side that they feel they're not encouraged to express. When I hear this book, it's almost like you're going against the grain and you're trying to say to kids, no, you can actually think, you can actually dream. Have you had any kids that have had good experiences with this book that have maybe realized a dream that they maybe had, or they came to you with an understanding that, okay, there's more to this, and that helped you further along with these books?
Yeah, and what's interesting, Danny, is that you hit the nail right on the head. When we went in to work with the teachers and we showed them the first book, Bentley's Dream, they were like, well, you can't teach the children they can achieve any dream. And we were like, why not? Why can't we teach a child that if they want to achieve a dream that they can, and we can help them through the path? Now, maybe the dream is unattainable, but let's let the child figure that out. Let's let the child walk down the path and realize, well, wait a minute, maybe that isn't something that I'm going to be able to do. But let them decide that. Don't squash their dreams. And this is happening. This is the K through 3 third grade teachers, telling us this. And so when we explain to them, okay, they're like, well, every kid in kindergarten through third grade wants to be an NBA player or an NFL player, a princess, the girls, right? So we said, okay, so let's take a little girl that wants to be a princess. So what would she have to do if she dreams of being a princess? She's going to have to learn how to wave and smile and talk in front of people. Let them walk down that path. And then if they say, wait, I don't want to talk in front of people, they made that decision not to do it. They're not told and pushed down. And it's interesting because I know a gal who wanted to be, from a little girl, wanted to be a princess. And her mother fostered that and supported her. And guess what she does for a living? She goes around to parties, and not just little kids parties, but bigger parties. And she's a princess, and she goes and she does, she entertains as a princess. That's her job. So she became a princess. Is that amazing? I mean, I love telling that story. It was interesting to watch. First off, Danny, the teachers started to shift. They started to go, wow, why can't we let the kids? And so the kids started to dream, and they started them down that path. So it's been very, very, very good. So I will tell you, the little ones, it's a little harder because their dreams are NFL players and NBA players. So what I will say is I think we've opened that door at the school for the teachers to allow them to dream. And so the kids are dreaming and they're excited about it. I went to the school and I took Bentley. It was amazing. And we read the book to all the classes and got engaged with them. And they were very excited about it. So it was really, really fun. But one of the things I can tell you that we've had a lot of success with is in our teams. We have a couple teens that we took through the Great Discovery, and one of them wanted to be an NBA player, and he's actually in college right now playing college ball, and he's on a track to be able to go into the NBA. He's doing very, very well, which is great. We've got another one that wanted to be a doctor, and she is just got accepted into medical school. In fact, she got offers from like 3 medical schools using the Great Discovery, the proven path that we teach, using that since she was in junior high to get herself into college and now into medical school. So
That's
it,
beautiful.
yeah, it's been amazing. So we've had a lot of success with the teens, and the little ones will come, that will come with time. It's not as instant and apparent as when they're a little bit older with the little ones. It's more of nurturing them along the way. So it's been really, really fun.
And I think something that has shifted, and I want to actually ask about this, Tim, and how it relates with the Great Discovery, but our definition of success has also shifted. Because when I was growing up, for example, and when my mom was growing up, for example, probably like when you guys were growing up, it was always you have to have the highest paying jobs, and that's the only kind of success that there is. If it brings in a certain amount, if you have a certain title, then that's the only way you can be successful. Your emotions to that job weren't even a factor, no one even considered it. And now, like for example, if I told my mom I wanted to be a princess and we used the princess story and then I became an entertainer and I'm really happy with that, some people would say, well, that's not successful. You're not successful. But to her, she is successful. And to the people around her, she's showing them that success comes in a lot of different ways. So it's really interesting to hear about that because as long as she's happy, that's the only thing that matters. And we're now finally being able to adopt this mentality of you're not in competition with anyone except for how happy you could be.
Mhm.
Your highest self, your happiest self is judging you based on what you're allowing yourself to do every day. So
Mhm.
when it comes to the Great Discovery, how are you kind of helping people shift to this mentality, and also with the books too, of you don't just need to be a doctor, you don't just need to be a lawyer, you don't just have to do X in order to actually be happy and quote unquote successful.
Yeah, there's an interesting. My partner says it really well. Dennis Denoy has been teaching kids for decades now in homeschooling, but one of the larger online e-learning communities for kids, right? And it's called Mr. D Math, a fantastic platform. One of the things he says is the education system that we've got now isn't broken; it's obsolete. And it literally is. It came back from the Rockefeller Foundation years back in the 20s when the Department of Education was founded. Suddenly we had centralized education where it used to be, before then, it was largely homeschooling, right? And then went into centralized education and teaching people. And they're teaching from that point forward, it became about creating and producing consumers and employees. That was the fixed agenda, literally, in education. Everything from there, you go to a class, here's the bell, you check in on time. It's being a good employee within the game. That's really what it was all about. And so you're spot on with that as far as the obsolete aspect of it. We don't want to teach kids what to think anymore. We want to teach them how to think again. So many kids are raised up today, and their education is their babysitter. It's their cell phone. It's, hey, go on in there and go entertain yourself. Watch a TV show, play a video game, anything to not interact with your kids. And in defense of the parents, they're usually out working 2 jobs or more, to be able to make ends meet. They're tired at the end of the day. They don't want to go. So we farm out our kids to an outsourced group that's teaching them whatever they want to for whatever their purpose is without regard for anything. And that purpose is, in many cases, just putting them into a job rather than letting them define who they are and identifying their gifts and do what Sandra's doing with the Great Discovery option.
In addition to that, too, I'm going to add this in the school systems today. The children, about 11, 12 years old, and I'm going to use the word, are being guided to make a career choice. You got to make a career choice. And that choice that you make, it's going to follow you all through high school. Now, a child at 12 years old, I don't believe, in my opinion, has the ability to start making those decisions yet. I don't think so. And if we can get to them with the great discovery, though, we can help them start to get in touch with those intrinsic core values. And if you can live those intrinsic core values and they're in alignment with what you're doing, your life is going to exponentially be better. We work with adults who are unhappy, have health problems, relationship problems, and we take them through the great discovery and they get in touch with their intrinsic core values, and their career is not in alignment with their core values at all. That's why they hate their job. That's why they get up in the morning and they don't want to go to work. And it's exactly what you're talking about. They're told they have to do this, they have to do this, they have to make this much money, you have to be a doctor, a lawyer. No, you don't. You need to do what you're guided and put here on this earth to do, I believe. And I think through their intrinsic core values, it's a good opening. It's a good window to open for them to be able to experience that. And we have people come in and go through the great discovery and they change careers and their life just blossoms. They're happy, they're fulfilled, they want to get up and go to work in the morning. So if we can start our children early, down at K through 3, with this Six Sigma way of thinking, even though their intrinsic core values are still developing, we're not pushing them, and then helping them as they get into their teen years, be able to get in touch with those and understand those. We're going to have a lot more happy people doing what they are meant to do on this earth instead of what, like you said, Danny, they're told to do.
For a kid who is hearing this, perhaps, maybe kid isn't the right word, for a young adult who is listening to this, a teenager or early 20s, because that is still, I would consider, young adulthood. You're not fully feeling confident in your place in the world. You're still trying to figure everything out. What advice would you have for them if they were never taught this, if they had never heard follow your actual passions, understand what your core beliefs are? If they've never heard that and they were always just told, okay, when you're 12 years old, think of what you want to do. So then your entire high school, you can train to do this. So then by college, you can get a degree in this. And then you can spend the rest of your living adult life working in this. If they've never heard anything outside of that, what advice would you have to them so they could actually start thinking, what are my values? And being able to identify that if they've been suppressing it for years.
Well, I think the first step is just asking the question and being aware that there are other options. And, part of that is the environment you're in. Sometimes, and I know that, young adults, they've got families and, they want to be guided and stuff, but sometimes we've got to ask ourselves the question, is there another path? And maybe I can go out and find another path and start to research on that. So our young adults have the ability to do that with the other internet and, all of the information they have, and looking at what are other people doing that are successful and happy. That might be one track for them to do. We can definitely take them through the great discovery and help them, that way. That's awesome. But really there's a lot of research out on intrinsic core values and what those are and how to align yourself with that, which that's what we do. But I would say that would be one of the things that I would suggest they do. Start asking questions. Think outside of the box and know that you can go out and you can research and you can look for other avenues at the same place. Find my career. Either I can pick one out of the sky, or maybe I can go find one through discovering what is really good for me. So there's different ways we can get to those.
If you were presented with a case or a child who says, I don't really feel like working, I don't want to do anything. Have you ever had any of those that have said that to you and then gone through the program, either the Great Discovery or Six Sigma, either one, and then they were able to find what they actually wanted?
We had a case here recently. He was a teen, still in high school, and he has challenges, disabilities, and basically had himself pretty beat down to where he would never be able to work, never be able, his dream of becoming a pilot, I believe it was, never going to happen for him, and it was very difficult for him. And his mother struggled to try and help him. We put him into the teen program, and he came out with a pathway to become a pilot. And do you know what he did? Which was amazing. This is the first time I've had a teen do this, and we were just shocked. He came up with a backup plan in case, because of his disability, he can't become a pilot. He's got a backup plan of the next thing he wants to go do. So it was amazing. So even though he had himself convinced he could never get a job, he found the path to the one he really wants, but he built a backup one. So that was a really great thing, and we did that through taking him through our team program.
Let me interject on that as well. One of the things that I know is having spent a lot of time in working with kids is kids are savvy. They're not silly, right? They're going to learn. They start recognizing, hey, this doesn't really quite align. You start seeing the job word, and it's kind of overplayed. And what we're finding is when you can help people to simply identify really what they're intended to do, if they don't consider it a job anymore. And for example, if you're dreading going to work on Monday morning and you're looking forward to getting off on Friday evening, and your biggest goal in life is to retire, the odds are about 100% that you're doing something that's not in alignment with who you are, right? So one of the things with the Great Discovery is really doing that. Kids are so often in the early stages, they're genius mode. They're capable of learning anything. They can deploy almost anything. They're an absolute genius at that stage in being able to absorb and process and apply information for transformation. They can become anything. There's old Bible scripture that says, raise up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. It's those formative years that are there that are crucial for child development. And so often, some of us, even as parents, some of the things that we do it's like we don't even think about it. I'm going to get controversial here with you, Danny. Okay, I hope that's not going to blow you away or anything. But when we go out and, for example, just as an example, we tell a child, hey, you're in your formative years. You believe everything. Everything is magical. Everything's possible. You're learning. It's all brand new. And you say, and Santa's going to slide down the chimney every year and bring you toys and everything else, and that's all fine. But then a little bit later, you say, oh, we were just kidding. What does that do to a child's belief? I'm not an anti-Santa guy, right? But I mean, taking it from a perspective of all types of different things and knowledge that we're educating and submerging our children with are totally deflating their ability to process. Eventually, they get to the point where they just shut down. It's like, why work in this environment? They go and they see their friends on TikTok and they model what they believe are their intrinsic core values on something that they think is really cool or trendy. Oh, that's what I want to do, even though it's not really who they are. Next thing you know, they can't be happy to a certain extent. So with the Great Discovery, one of the things that I've seen in almost 40 years of personal development training and supporting clients in that, I've never seen anything as effective or powerful as what this is for simply unlocking a person's ability to think, process, and believe. That's really what it comes down to. Children can do almost anything as long as, what they're being programmed with is not simply, gags or gimmicks or being cool or sexy on TikTok or a video game that's going out and leading them down. Those are all things that will help them to teach motor functions and analysis and different things like that. But it's taking their entire focus off of anything that's going to be productive for life.
Yeah. And I do want to play devil's advocate just for a moment, because I really do. I think you said a couple of interesting things that I want to hit on. The first one being, let's say I am 12 and I just got a new phone and I finally got TikTok and I'm scrolling and I'm seeing all these different people and I'm getting introduced to all these different kind of ideas. I don't have any new ideas, quote unquote, because all I have is just what's around me. So I don't know what I don't know. There's a nice saying that ignorance is bliss, because you don't know what you don't know. Therefore, what you don't know can't hurt you. But then you start to understand, okay, there's a lot of other people that are my age that think this. And then there's a lot of other people that are my age that think that. And even though they're different from each other, people my age are having these thoughts. So how can I differentiate basically what feels right to me if I've never been experienced to it before. Because, for example, when I was growing up, like me personally, my mom never cursed around me. I literally did not know that there was a word worse than crap in the dictionary until I was away from her for the first time when I went to
Me
overnight.
neither.
I had absolutely no idea. Like when I stubbed my toe, the worst I could think was, ah, darn, that hurt. I could not think of anything worse. And then when I got to camp, I learned all of these fun different curse words, and I got, you know, the full dictionary experience. And then I go home and I'm mad at my mom. I'm thinking, why did you keep me from this? I looked like an idiot. I looked like I was the fool who didn't know anything. So for a kid who's hearing that it's maybe not great for them to be having access to all of these different ideas because it may not align with their core values, how do they know what their core values are if they're not experiencing everything?
Right. Well, I think it's not about living in a bubble, and I'm not even knocking social media. What I'm talking about is going out into anything without being grounded first, and being able to take in those early years. What's so crucial, in our opinion, about the Great Discovery is it really is teaching children again how to think, how to solve their problems, to be identify who they are. Once you know who you are going out in the world, it's much more difficult to say, well, oh, that's not really me, or wow, that's really entertaining. Good for you. That's fantastic. But that's really not who I'm going to be, or what my calling in life is, right? So it's not about isolation or bubbleizing someone or insulating them. It's really about simply empowering them to recognize who they truly are inside and their ability to accomplish vast things, and here's what I believe, for whatever it's worth. I believe that we can accomplish virtually anything that we set our mind to. We have the spark of God within us. We have the ability to process and do vast things. We're greater than any supercomputer that's ever there. Yet we're only using 95% of our brain power on average. What if we could bump that up 2, 3, 4 points to get people really being able to use some of this talent and things that we've got in the way that we're thinking? That's what the Great Discovery is all about. It's not to say, hey, this is bad or this is good, but it's enabling someone to be able to discern for themselves what is and what isn't, based on some balance. Again, having a grounding first before you're going out and experience a lot of these other different things. If I told my daughter I was going to take her off of social media, she would be very angry with me. And it's not necessarily the direction that we want to go, but we do give her some guidelines and things like that because she's very young. But it also comes down to, we're helping her to get grounded a lot more with the Great Discovery type of a way of thinking. Again, we're not teaching a worldview, not teaching politics, we're not teaching religion. It's just how to think, how to make that mind work the right way.
Sandra, do you have anything to add on that? Because I know that this is a very kind of open-ended topic.
Yeah, and it's a tough one, and it takes me back to your question about the child who doesn't want to work and doesn't want to have a job. How much of that is the influence from their immediate environment that they're in and what they're seeing on social media and those distractions? My question is, how much of that comes from that and them seeing what other people are doing, and I'm just going to do what other people do because they can do it? Or could we get them in touch with those intrinsic core values? Would it change their opinion? Would it change their way that they look at the world now? That, wow, there is something out there that I connect with that I could do and could make me very happy. It's a tough one though. It's the environment that the kids work with in social media and all the data they process every day. I mean, even as an adult, my brain gets to a point where it's just overload. And our children, they take in even more than we do. I mean, I see a lot of kids and they sit around on their phones all day. That's all they have. You go to dinner and you see families and they're all sitting at the table with their phones. And I just go, wow, it's like, re-engage with the kids, help them get out of that phone and back to maybe some reality about what it really is, and start to teach them a new way of thinking, how to think, right? Not what to think. The phone tells them what to think. Let's teach them how to think again. And that's what our society has lost, I believe. And my late husband, his name was Michael, and he saw the same thing. He was a visionary. He made some huge impacts on the way business was done. And he wanted to be able to bring that to individual people. when he left us, we hadn't even started down the path. We had started down the path of teens, and now that we've gone to the little ones, I know he's looking down and he's very happy because it was his dream to change the world. In his terms, if we could give an individual a half a sigma bump, that's the goodness in something, in their individual life, how incredible would that be? And how could we change the world to good, right? So it was amazing. So it's a tough one though.
It's a tough one. And it also brings up another kind of interesting topic of the power and the dangers of social media. And if we're leaning more towards the power of it, what I think of is the topic of global education. I think of if I am a little girl that is living in the United States and I can just go on my phone right here and I can look at a girl from China, I can look at a girl from Australia, I can look at people from all over the world and see how their lives differ from mine and their perspective on what it's like to go grocery shopping, what it's like to eat food, just random things that are normal in our everyday to day life, but they vary so drastically on either the schedule or the quality that they have access to, just literally anything. That's also something that it should be appreciated as well. And just the idea of being able to get connected to that kind of world. How do you guys see that in terms of global education playing a role in what you do with children and with teens and with adults?
Well, I'll be glad to address that. One of the things that we're doing, Danny, is we've created a global e-learning community that's actually called The Great Discovery. And it kind of comes from an interesting twist is with the Great Discovery course that Sandra's talking about, whether it's for kids, teens, or adults. The very beginning, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to identify a mission. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? Do you want to be a concert piano player? Do you want to learn to, money and finance? Do you want to lose weight? Whatever your mission is, the Great Discovery helps you plot a path, a proven path to be able to accomplish it. But what we found is if your mission is, hey, I want to be a concert pianist, we can teach the proven path how to become a concert pianist, find out that it's in your intrinsic core values, get all the restraining forces and get your path and your milestones all in place, and you'll have an A to Z plan. You will succeed, but eventually you have to learn how to play piano. You got to learn music. You're going to have to learn rhythms and functions of a basic piano, right? So as we're looking at how are we going to empower the people in our community to be able to gain that knowledge, so we decided, like any red-blooded person would do, create our own core platform. So we created a global e-learning community where thousands of different course creators, so let's say you came on, you were teaching a course on podcasting or anything else, could go on and do that. So when I said earlier that education isn't broken, it's becoming obsolete, it's because it is. In the last 4 years, since COVID has come and gone, I always look for the ups and downs with everything. And one of the ups with COVID, in spite of all the horrible downs, is very simple, that now your grandparents are on Zoom. We're communicating in ways that we never could before. Before pre-COVID, there was maybe 10 to 15% of the population would use, internet communications like this in, part-time, occasionally if they had to. And, now it's nearly 95% plus are using it at least monthly, and most are using it on a daily basis at one way or the other. That means people like you're talking about in other countries and in the Amazon jungle literally have cell phones. They've got Skylink, they've got technologies. So what we actually created was an e-learning platform where you're able to translate your communications in real time. So if Danny, you're doing a podcast on a particular topic, you'd be able to teach that material in fluent Japanese, in fluent Mandarin, in fluent Portuguese, in fluent Italian, in any up to 100 different languages with your voice and your face and your persona, not subtitles. What that gives is with the coming advent of new two-way communications, it gives the people the ability to learn and adapt to new knowledge and things that are empowering and transformative wherever they are in the world. And that also means going the opposite way. So sometimes we here in America have a tendency to think that, we're on an island and it all centers around us, as other people do in other countries. Yet there's people that even, again, using the example of the Amazon, people have fantastic knowledge that can save lives. But if they you can't understand them, they can't pass it on to you. And so we've crossed that bridge. We've created a mechanism to make that work. And as a result, we're able to have two-way communications with just about anyone in the world with empowering content. So we're deploying courses for kids. We've got courses for teens. Anything where we've got a professional course creator with a passion and a heart to empower other people, whatever it is, whether it's spiritual growth, whether it's money and finance, whether it's health and fitness, whether it's, want to be a lawyer, you want to learn how to fish, all of it is available on the platform. And so people can learn that. The obsolete part comes to just like where we started this session, coming full circle. When you identify your intrinsic core values, who you are, what really turns you on, what makes you smile. Yeah, there's a thing in the U.S. Constitution or in the Declaration of Independence, both, where people are in the pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness is being in alignment with who you are, rather than being forced and shoehorned into something that's not you. If you're a square peg in a round hole, after enough rubbing, eventually you'll be able to get into there, but it's not a good fit. And so when you find something that is a fit, you target the knowledge that's going to make you fulfilled, that's going to allow you to empower to take your gift out to the rest of the world and make it happen. So that's what we're doing with the Great Discovery.
Sandra, when it comes to kind of taking that concept and applying it to kids, it sounds like the Great Discovery, it can help anyone from any age. But is there any way that you can start to basically give those same, I don't want to say principles, but letting kids know that just because someone isn't immediately in your back door, it's okay to listen to them and it's okay to take in their knowledge? Because I also remember growing up, again, this is playing devil's advocate, but we were always very skeptical about people that were foreign to us, about people that weren't exactly our literal right next door neighbor or next door neighbor in the sense of a country. And for some areas, at least in the US, I know personally people that either look down or condescend to people that are not American. So is there any way that you guys are taking that kind of idea of just because someone isn't American, you can still listen to what they have to say and it's going to be okay? Because there are some people that are like, well, you're not like me, therefore you're wrong, or therefore I shouldn't have to listen to you.
Yeah, and it's the inequities in the world. That's exactly right. Our platform, we want to have the platform for everyone. There's no discrimination, there's no politics, we want to have information for everyone in all walks of the world, from all over the world. It is hard because I get where you're coming from. The trust out there today, it's hard. There's a lot of bad in the world. On our platform, all content is good content, whether we agree with it or not, as long as it's good, clean content, and we can show that to people and through terms and conditions agreements, all that kind of stuff, so people can have a higher level of comfort, I guess, with the information. But I think also people are more open today to looking at other cultures and learning from other cultures because of what Tim said we went through with COVID. Everything is online now, so we have much more visibility around the world. We're not just in our neighborhood anymore. We have a global view. So I think that's also helping people. But knowing that there's content out there that's good and that knowledge empowers people, regardless of who you are, where you're from, what color your skin is, we're all equal. And we have to try and lessen the inequalities that happen out there. So it does happen, but hopefully our platform will give people a comfortable place and a safe place to go to be able to experience that and explore into that.
Well, we are almost up for our time today. If you guys could end with either a lasting word of wisdom or something that you've seen people go through as they discover who they are and what they're meant to do you have any kind of advice or suggestions on what those next steps could be once you finally identify, like, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is how I can confidently go about doing it without fear, like feeling the fear of judgment or feeling the fear of, what if this doesn't work? What if the failure?
I think that fear is a tough one. We all have that. But once you learn a new way of thinking, I believe that getting in touch with those core values, it will shift that thinking to where you have a lot more positive outlook. like you said, if we stay in the same place we're in the same environment, and everything continues the same, nothing changes, we have to break out of it. So I think making a decision to move out of that and look for more knowledge and find a different way of thinking, which we can do through the Great Discovery, is probably a first step in that.
Well, I think one of the things that is really just going to get out and explore and think with an open mind. Remember that nothing is impossible. You're able to accomplish so many great things, and just be aware there is some amazing information, and there's some information out there that's not always good and helpful. The whole point of having a good idea of who you are and who you're made to be, that's going to give you the ability to discern a lot better, of what's going to be a fit and what's not. We didn't have a perfect household. I don't know that anyone did. But one thing my dad always said was, hey, there's nothing that you can't do. He didn't hinder me from anything. I had one job one time ever. And I lasted 2 weeks at a Carl's Jr. That was it. That was the end of my career. Right. But ever since then, I've been living my dreams, and one thing after another. It's a vision that will come up, and able to go out and conquer that vision and accomplish it and bring it to fruition. Not all of them worked out fantastic, but the point was I was able to do what I love to do. I never have had a day of work since that job at Carl's Jr. And because I enjoy what I do. And the advice I would give to everyone, find what you enjoy how to do, learn more about it, focus how you can create and serve others with that skill that you're getting. Because every gift that we have, believe it or not, every talent, everything that we learn, it's not for us. It's for those in our community. It's our family. It's our neighborhood. It's in the country. That's where we can take that talent and pour it out with others, and it returns with monetary rewards for it, right? We don't work for money. We work for people. The rewards come as compensation for that. It's not the money that you're working for. It's how can you take the gift and improve the lives of those in your community, your family, and everything else. And that, for me, that was something that lined up and just made my life into a joy that it is, rather than a hardship all the time.
That's really beautiful.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And to end on that note, I think it's a very positive one.
Thank you, Danny. We appreciate being on your show. Thanks so much. Looking forward to being on again. Thanks for hosting.
It was great to have you guys. And that wraps up today's episode of Vibrant Living Diaries. It has been an absolute pleasure having you with us. A huge thank you to our guest for sharing your expertise, and to the International Wellness Alliance for making this possible. Remember, the insights and stories we've shared today are steps towards embracing a life of holistic fulfillment. We hope you've been inspired to take the next step forward in your own wellness journey. As always, we're eager to hear your thoughts and experiences. Connect with us on our social media platforms, and feel free to share how you're integrating the knowledge gained here into your daily life. Your journey is important to us, and we look forward to growing together. I'm Danielle Grodman, and can't wait to continue this journey with you in our next episode. Until then, keep exploring, stay curious, and embrace the vibrant life you deserve. Speak soon.